Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show, Persistence Playbook. And I am souped up today because we have a man that knows how to do hard things. He's the CEO of National Technology Management. He's the host of the tremendously successful podcast, Harder Than Life. He's an author, a coach, a very in-demand keynote speaker right now. And over 200,000 people follow him on Instagram for daily motivation and inspiration. And today, we're going to dig into that question. How do we consistently conquer daily resistance and do the hard things that we know we need to do to realize our true potential? Kelly Siegel, thank you for being on the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me. And I got to say, I'm envious of your hair.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's not much there. And I appreciate you bringing that up right off the bat. And I've seen your content. You talk about, how proud of your flowing locks you are. And believe me, I'd write you a blank check if I could have that hairdo right now.
It's funny because I'm like you. I would love to shave my hair and just go bald. It's sexy. It looks great. Except I have a lot of hair. So it's like, you know what? I like doing something. I like doing things differently than everybody else. Because a lot of the world is unhappy, and why would I follow unhappiness? I'm happy, and I want to, and I do things that most people don't do. So I have to update the intro though. Since you've probably looked me up, I've appointed a woman CEO of National Technology Management.
All right.
What I've learned to do is delegate and elevate. We run EOS, so I move out of people's ways. I am the bottleneck in everything. I like to unstick, but I'm the bottleneck. I get my nose in, and that's the best advice I could tell people is just realize, man, the ego is your enemy and will absolutely freaking get you involved in things you have no qualifications being involved in. So I move out of the way and just do the unsticking and set the vision of the company. And boy, does my work family run with it. And, just a shameless plug at the very beginning, we make IT simple. We simplify technology every day. And it's nationwide. The company's called National Technology Management. Is exploding like the Harder Than Life brand. And, if you lead with good intentions and you provide value and you do it consistently and disciplined every single day, good things happen.
Completely agree. And, appreciate you saying that you would want to actually be bald. I'm not quite sure I believe that, Kelly, but I think you could pull it off. I'm just looking at you. You're certainly the type of guy that could pull off the bald look. It doesn't look like it's anytime happening soon to you though. So, hopefully not. And, right off the bat, I want to talk about those three words, harder than life, right? It's the name of the book. It's the name of the podcast. It's the name of the app. It's kind of your war call. It's your mantra. Could you just explain to me in the audience succinctly, what does harder than life mean?
Every single day it changes for me because I'm not the same person I am any day. I read, I take in content, I'm growing and learning. I'm a learn-it-all. And I will be honest with you, I've become one with God where I talk to God a lot and I ask God questions and guidance. And I don't know if he's talking to me, but somehow a path opens up. So every single day, it does mean something different to me. And at first, when I wrote the book, and here's a copy of the book, Harder Than Life, and you can go to harderthanlife.com and get gear, get merchandise. I got a shirt on today. There's hats and whatnot. But when I first wrote it, I wrote it during the pandemic, and it was almost like I still had that chip on my shoulder. I was still drinking the poison and expecting other people to die. And really, it was just an entente on you have to make hard choices to live an easy life. So be harder than life. So it's just doing the things you don't really want to do that aren't simple and aren't easy. And then actually, what's making it change these days is that when you do it for a long period of time, we're coming up on about 3 or 4 years now I've been doing this, and life is pretty freaking easy. I'm not on cruise control, but it definitely is aligning and easy. So if you make hard choices day in and day out, there is a point where they become easy.
Yeah, and I think there's just so much truth to that. And one of your quotes that I love is that the work works. The harder you work, the more peaceful your life gets, which is something I've heard you say before as well. And I really think there's a lot of truth to that. I think a lot of people that have these big, audacious, hairy goals, and they really want to make an impact, they want to make a dent, so to speak, to steal another line from yourself. You know, they really want to help people. They want to make this great impact, but maybe they were coddled a little bit growing up. Maybe they were spoiled, and they were never really given that gift of great work ethic growing up. Do you have any tips for people who maybe have that easy childhood that want to develop this world-class grit to allow them to do these hard things? How do we go from there to someone who has tons of grit like yourself? Any tangible tips we can do on a daily basis?
Well, Brett, you know my upbringing growing up in
Hmm.
8 Mile in Warren. That Eminem made famous in his movie. So I'm not an expert at growing up with a spoon, a golden spoon, so to speak. But I would tell you this much: taking in all the reading and all the freaking learning I do is it's very simple. You figure out the what and the why, and the how appears. So I would assume that if I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, which some might argue my daughter it has, um, you have to figure out what your why is and pursue it with reckless abandonment. Now that's kind of hard to do when you've had privilege. So for me, it was so simple. I wanted to just literally survive. So I had an inherently built in why. So it was survive. And that's no joke. I mean, daily beatings, daily survival. So to me, making money and being successful at National Technology Management meant I could eat. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the God's honest truth. I didn't know where my next meal was coming from all the way up till I was 15, or really when I lied about my paper route. I lied about my age and I got a paper route at 12, and literally was able to make about 80 bucks a week and feed myself. I mean, there's no food in the house. I always didn't wondered what my alcoholic parents where they thought I ate, because there was no food in the house and they were never around. And I'm talking from age, I believe it was 8 or 9, all the way through till I left at 16. It's like, hey man, so what do? We break the chains, and every single morning and every single night, I have a sit down breakfast and dinner with my daughter, and it's our time to bond.
I love
So,
that.
again, figure out your why and just feverishly pursue that like it's no end. And really, it's just all about being a servant leader or go giver. If you help everybody get what they want, you'll inevitably get what you want. That's what really karma is. It's just the good karma, not the bad karma.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's completely true. If you do figure out the what and the why, then the how becomes a lot more clear. And but figuring out your why isn't necessarily an easy thing. I think it's something that we all need to think about and deliberate on and journal on. And it should really be part of our practice on a daily basis. I actually square off 10 minutes in my calendar every day just to kind of journal on my why every morning, just to kind of remind myself,
Okay.
why am I going to do the hard things that I planned for myself today? Like, what is really going to keep me going through the resistance today? And the why for me changes over time. It's not always the same thing. Like I've got a 2-year-old son. He's a big part of my why now. He wasn't a big part of my why before, but now a big part of me doing the hard things every day that maybe I don't always want to do are just showing him what's possible. Really showing my son that you can achieve anything in this world so long as you work hard and you put your nose down and you make it happen. So I totally agree. I think making your why and reminding yourself of your why on a daily basis can really help push through that resistance. Now, you've mentioned a couple times already how you are very passionate about learning. Obviously, all the great leaders and doers and world shakers, that they really are passionate about lifelong learning. And just curious, like, what does that look like for you in process? Are you a podcast guy, an audiobook guy? Do you read voraciously actual books? Like, what does your lifelong learning look like?
Well, first of all, I love people, so I got to ask you a question, Brett. What's your son's name?
My son's name is Beckham, and he just turned 2 last weekend, and he's an absolute wild man.
So bend it like Beckham. I like that. That's a great
That's
name. So no pressure for him. So
right.
that's awesome. 2 years old. So by the way, things are about to get insane for you. What do they call the terrible twos?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, and beautiful that you got a boy, because what they say, I have a girl, and they say, what do you only have to worry about one penis. I have to worry about them all.
Oh no.
Oh,
There you go, guys. There's a little bit of advice that not everyone knew they were going to get today. I love it.
And I love people. So I want to ask you more questions. Just one more question. I promise I'll get back to the question.
No, hit me with it, please.
So I assume you're married.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how long you been married?
We've been together for 10 years. And actually, a little bit of news is we've got another baby on the way. So we've got our second coming in October. And life is pretty
Do you
grand,
know what
I
it
gotta
is?
say.
Do you know the best
No,
sex?
actually, we're gonna wait. We are gonna wait, my friends.
So I'm going to send you all my love and positivity for it to be a girl. You get the boy and the girl, and that's right there, success. Doing this, it's 11:30 or whatever time it is during the day. We're both working, and we get to stop and we get to break bread together and hear about families and hear about success. And that's success to me, man. It's what's coming from you, Brett. And
I
that's
agree,
cool, man. I'm proud of you, and I'm happy for you. And one more, what's your wife's name?
Kim.
Kim. Congratulations, Kim. Sorry you got to
I'll
put up
relay
with
that.
that.
Oh, I know. I am a pain in the ass, but I will agree. I'll be honest with you. There's like at least once or twice a week, I'll just be spending time with my son, and like a thought will cross my mind, cross my heart. It'll just be like, this is the best moment of your life. Like the success and the deals and the speaking engagements, all that stuff is great. But I think when you look back in your life, I think those moments that you spend with your children are going to be your fondest.
Beckham will never be 2 again. So, and you'll have another deal come along. I tell you, I was my schedule was extremely full yesterday. My daughter had what they call a late start. She basically went to school for 2.5 hours yesterday. I don't even get me started on that. But I like to drop my daughter off, and hold on a second. It just said we dropped off for a second. Okay, sorry, you're gonna have to edit.
I think we're good.
We dropped off for a second. So
no worries.
Again, don't get me started on 2.5 hours of school. I don't know what that's about. So having said that, I like to pick my daughter up and drop her off on the days that I have her. So I'm a single dad, and I just like to be there because she's 15. Another year she's going to be driving. In 3 years she's going to be off to college, and they say that when they go off to college, you've achieved 90% of the time you're going to spend with them. So I was irritated because I had full schedule and I had to squeeze their picking her up, and I had to stop myself and go, bro, I get to do this. Those meetings can wait. I am the boss. They can wait for a second and let me spend a little bit, because I didn't want to push onto my daughter my feelings of busyness and that she wasn't the most important thing, because she is. And it's very easy when you have children to understand your why. And it's very easy to understand that being your why when you grew up as god awful as I did. And I keep going back to that because I want people to realize no matter what you come from, something good can come from you. So again, what was the question?
Yeah, who the hell knows? Who cares? No, well, just really quick, I think I love that your choice of verbiage there is that I get to do this, right? I get to spend time with my daughter. It's not I have to, it's I get to, and I think that simple tweak of verbiage in our minds can help us in a lot of aspects of life. Whether it's family or even if it's work. If it's maybe a project you've been putting off, stop saying to yourself, "I have to do this," because you really don't. if you don't do this, the world will go on. You'll
I,
still be alive.
I would,
Switch that to I get to do this.
yeah, and I would also say if you have to do something, you probably shouldn't be doing it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's not fun. There's so many days that I'm like, oh my god, this is what my life looks like. So that was the question you asked. How do I learn more? What's
Yeah,
kind of the
yeah.
goal?
I just know
Am I
you're passionate about learning, and I'm just curious, like, what's it actually look like in practice for you?
Yeah, it's insane. I'm bona fide insane, and I set the highest standards for myself, and if I don't achieve them, the words, the inner voice that I have, there's no bitch voice in my head. There it is. You're going to achieve, or you're going to die trying. For me, success and winning is paramount. It's I have to do it because it means survive or die, because that's how it felt growing up. I've done a lot of therapy, tons and tons of different types of therapy. I did EMDR, hypnotherapy, talk therapy, plant medicine. I've tried it all, and it took all of that to get to me to be this very happy, peaceful, relatively calm person. I will tell you, there's sometimes I just have fun in the when things get really tough and the pressure is on, is when I do my best work. I love that because the person I've worked to become also gets to flex the muscles. You get to exercise muscles that you don't know that you have, and B don't know that they work well. So we're redesigning the sales funnel at National Technology Management and at Harder Than Life right now, and I'm like, wow, this is incredibly hard. But it's because you're herding cats, you're getting vendors and people to do things that they don't want to do, which is work, which is a sad state of our country right now. But we're going to keep pushing, pushing, pushing. And I tell everybody, your desire to not work or be lazy or just not move forward isn't near as strong as my desire to succeed and deliver results. So if you want to test wills, I guarantee you mine is stronger. I didn't get here by giving up. I will outlast you.
I
So
love
my
that.
day,
That's a
my
great
daily
mentality.
ritual, and that starts with the first second I wake up in the morning. My feet hit the ground. First of all, when my eyes wake up, I say I have gratitude. Just simple things. Usually, it's my daughter sleeping in the other room, the roof over my head, the food in my belly, the blanket, my cat, anything. Just three simple things. Thank God, and I bounce up and I get to I go to the bathroom, high five the mirror, I do some meditation, journaling. Then I hit the gym, and I'm at the
Love it.
gym by 5 a.m. And when I get to the gym, I throw a podcast on, and I'm talking this is every single day. I throw a
Yeah.
podcast on, and I stick to big world leaders, Ed Milet, my own podcast because I critique my own stuff. I
And
got a
that's
few
important.
women that I like to listen to, and then I also do this thing that people think I'm weird is I go and I list taking content from dissenting opinions. So if you're a Republican, I take in Democrats. If you're a Democrat, I take a Republican. Because I don't want to be surrounded with the same people that tell me I'm great all the time. I want discerning opinions so I can know how to communicate with them because I believe together we rise, divided we fall. And I just want to understand where everybody's coming from because nobody in this country wants it to fail. And
No, of course
I've
not.
seen some of the protests that are going on in New York right now, and even those people that are saying death to America, you know, they have a voice, and that's what makes this country great. We're not suppressing the voice like some other countries. Do I agree with it? No. This is the greatest country on earth by far. Not even a second close second. Now I know some parts of Mexico are a little blast, but I wouldn't want to live there.
Amen.
So
Amen, brother.
if you haven't traveled the world, go do it. It's interesting. I've been in villages in Thailand where they don't have running water. People they were drinking the bath water and washing their clothes in it. So like we take such things like electricity for granted. And when you can see how other people live, you will not be condemning our country. So um,
I think that's a
I'm an
great
avid,
routine, though.
yeah, I'm
Great
an avid
routine.
reader. I read minimum of 10 pages, but usually a couple chapters per day.
Love that.
And I'm an old school guy. I like the actual hard book in my
Sure.
hand.
Sure.
If I Sometimes, again, I don't like to waste time. So if I'm on a long drive, I don't sit and zone out to music the entire time. I'll throw on an audio book or another podcast, and then I make notes on everything. So I don't get much downtime, but I don't require much downtime because I've cultivated a life that I love so much. Why the heck would I want to escape from it?
Yeah.
No,
I think
I have a
that's
home in Florida that I travel to. When I get there, I have a routine when I'm there, so it's a real quick recharge. I do recharge, and but happiness to me is that routine. It is reading. It is feeding my mind. It's feeding my body, feeding my muscles, creating content, helping one person every day, and paying it forward. And then, I don't do it for the accolades because I don't get many of them. I get more criticism than I get accolades. But when you put yourself out there, you're going to receive criticism that comes with the territory.
100%. I think it's a great routine, though, that people can, modify and adopt themselves. I love the gratitude first thing. 3 things you're grateful for. What a phenomenal tone to set the day on. Hop out of bed, give yourself a high five in the mirror, meditate, journal, and then hit the gym. I think that is a really powerful set of dominoes to fall to really kind of catapult you onto a really good day. And if everyone would just start their day that way every day, you'd probably start to form and build that grit that you've been looking for.
Brett, hold on. I want to make sure people don't realize, successful people existed before morning routines. So a morning routine won't guarantee you success, but I've become so adjusted to it that if any of that stuff I miss, I know I have to do it sometime during the day. So the only thing I say is you should have some sort of routine. It doesn't necessarily need to be in the morning, but you should have some sort of winning routine. And for me, I like getting things out of the way early, first thing in the morning, because if I don't, then I'm thinking about it. I'm expending energy. So if I have to send a tough email, I have to have a tough conversation, I do it first thing in the morning. That's just what I found works. Now, the funniest thing about it is all this stuff happened on accident. I do my workouts at 5 a.m. because I used to be a huge drinker. And whenever I'd be out with clients and I'd have drinks, I missed the gym. So I'd
Sure.
make sure and do it first thing in the morning. So everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. And if you just stop, what we resist persists. So sometimes the thing we need most is what we're pushing away.
And I agree with that. I mean, like you said, that people were successful before morning routines. The people that built this country did it smoking Marlboros and drinking whiskey. That they probably weren't waking up and meditating and journaling. But I do think for certain people, maybe you don't need it. I know Alex Hormozy always talks about how like a morning routine means nothing to him. He just gets up and
Yeah.
gets straight to work. But I think there are some people like him that are just hardwired for hard work, and maybe they don't need to put their armor on the way other people do. But I do think some people that maybe are not quite as hardwired for hard work had a bit of an easier childhood. That going through a few of those steps can help them get into a mood for work. I know for myself it does. I had probably what you would call a bit of a coddled upbringing. I was an only child. I was spoiled, and I'd say grit and hard work has always kind of been something I've had to work on. And I know for myself, if I get up and I read my 10 pages and then I have a nice workout, I'm just in a much better state and I'm much more able to do hard work at that point. So I think you just got to figure out what works for you. But I do think it can certainly help if you're someone who maybe is lacking in the grit category a little bit. Now, you touched on a few things there that I want to dive into, one of which was self-talk. And I think you mentioned how a lot of the time you're kind of hard on yourself and you demand a very high level of output on a daily basis. And just curious, like, what does that inner monologue, look like for Kelly? Are there any mantras that you kind of lean on in times of internal resistance? Like, what does that self-talk look like on a daily basis?
Well, I remind myself that thoughts are magical lies. That's your ego. That's your filter. That's the survival, childhood trauma, inner. scared Kelly talking to me. So anytime that anything negative comes out, I remind myself that this too shall pass. But I go right. First of all, I'll go and say impossible only describes the degree of difficulty. I say that all the time. So that's number one. Number two is I always go back to gratitude. I forgot that there's a second time I do gratitude in the day is when I take my dog for a walk. I am just looking at the nature and the trees, and gratitude. It is impossible to be grateful and stressed at the same time.
Amen.
So that gratitude, I just keep going back to it. And it's the simplest things, man. I live a great life. I have 2 houses, a boat, 2 Harleys, multiple cars. And none of that's to make me happy. It's because it makes my life a little bit easier so I can
Mm-hmm.
recharge and do more for people. And I just keep saying myself, trust the process, enjoy the journey, and not worry about the outcome. Marry the process, divorce the outcome, and just keep going. And I keep reminding myself that the cool thing about life is living it and the
Right.
challenges. If it was so smooth and easy, would we appreciate the moments? No. It would be like we wouldn't even know because you need the duality. You need hard times so you celebrate the good times. You need sunlight so you know what darkness is. You need differentiating opinion. It balances us out. So yeah, that's that practice. Gratitude is the attitude of gratitude is everything. I believe in a higher power. I talk a lot to God. I journal to God a lot. I ask very specific things. I'm not a religious guy. I don't consider myself religious, but man, have I had some powerful conversations with God. And I swear to goodness, the guy freaking talks to me, or you'll hear me say some bodacious things like I'm the chosen one because I have been punched, stabbed, shot at, ran over, and I'm still here. So not much. There's no fear in me. You'll never see me scared. And if you do, run because something's about to happen.
I mean, I really like that mantra, trust the process, enjoy the journey. I think if we all said that to ourselves a little bit more often, we'd probably find ourselves taking more action, and it really is life. The joy of life is the journey. It's living it, even though, we all have these goals that we want to attain. 5 years from now, Kelly Siegel's got the number one podcast in the world. Part of him is going to almost wish he was back in the fight today, building that podcast, like living it, building it. That's the real joy. And then, sure, once you get to the top of that mountain you're striving for, guess what? You'll probably enjoy it for 5 minutes and then you're going to pick out a new mountaintop that you want to climb again. So I think it's really important to remind yourself, trust the process, enjoy the journey. I think that's a powerful mantra that we could all take with us on our journeys here. And you mentioned it a couple times, and I think we got to tap into it because I think it's a big part of your story. And you've mentioned sobriety. Now, I did a little research on your journey. I know you said you had your first drink at 9 years old. You started drinking at 13 years old. And how long have you been sober for now? And what's the transformation in your life looked like since that last drink?
Again, when we did the intro in the first question, I kept saying I'm different every day. And I'm going to show you that.
Mm-hmm.
Sobriety to me is a label that I don't know that I'm comfortable with anymore because
Okay.
I just choose not to drink.
Okay.
People's, oh, you're sober, so you must have been an alcoholic. And nah, I don't think I had a problem with alcohol other than alcohol was a problem.
Sure.
And I just say, I just learned this yesterday. I just want to be happy. I don't care about sobriety. And the farther away from alcohol I am, the happier I am. And what I learned so what happened is wholehearted life thing was born when I decided to quit drinking. And we can go down these rabbit holes and how much I was drinking. What really was happening is alcohol is the symptom, not the disease. Being, drinking and numbing out. What is it? Numbing and dumbing yourself out is a symptom and not the disease. The disease is there's a limiting belief. There's something in your childhood that you're trying to mask and be somebody else. For me, I was looking for love in all the wrong places and I wanted to fit in. And boy, if you want to fit in somewhere, join the shit crowd. Join the basic people crowd. There's a lot of them. Turned out I wasn't basic. That's why I just kept feeling out of alignment when I drank. And one day, no, I didn't hit rock bottom, didn't do anything. I just said, I have got to see the duality. I have to go see what life looks like not drinking. And life got infinitely better. Then it took a little dip where I was like, whoa. Then I realized why I drank. And that was the big test of saying, this is why people inevitably end up going back to drinking after they quit, is that was very hard. I had to do some serious inner work on myself, which included hypnotherapy, which I almost, literally crying profusely. And then I did EMDR therapy. Oh, this is during the pandemic, and I almost broke my computer because we worked on something so hard. The lady, I remember specifically this one, we were doing when I was 9, my mother beat me on my birthday, drunk, because she was so drunk. She didn't know, she couldn't understand what I was saying to her, and was beating me with like almost to kill me. And my sister was there, luckily, and saved my life. So the moral of the story was that I realized that there was some severe childhood trauma pent up that I was just masking. And once I fixed that issue, that particular issue had stayed with me forever. Like, I felt like I was nothing. And that, how would your mother, you must be unlovable if your mother is trying to kill you. Now, she wasn't trying to kill me. She was drunk. That was her trying to cope. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but I had to establish the logic. If you've ever done EMDR, they assign logic to an emotional situation. And my logic was, my mom was making me harder than life because it's a cruel world. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what freaking did it. I was able to overcome that. And from that day on, life got stupid good. And truthfully, I don't ever want to have a drink because I wake up and I'm vibrating at a level 10. And if I had a drink, I'd be at level 2. When I didn't love myself and I didn't think I was worthy and didn't deserve love, I would wake up at a -2, and the drinking would bring me back to base level 0. So, I did a podcast yesterday with several sobriety coaches. It's becoming real chic and real cool to not drink anymore because, man, I got to tell you, it's a cheat code. But a lot of people are adopting cannabis, which is trading one vice for another. But I got to tell you, my whole life changed the moment I put down that naughty water. Could I have another drink?
I love it.
Yeah. Would I? Probably not. But I don't sit here and say I'm completely sober. Even though I am, I don't take any drugs. I don't drink. Just have zero desire, Brett. So if anybody's curious about that, man, just hit me up, because part of our coaching program we're going to launch is to get people in alignment with alcohol. And
for sure,
well, I think that as long as you're not using it for a crutch, you can still have a glass of wine here and there, or one whiskey with your cigar, your victory cigar, because you just sold a $10 million home. Yeah, let's do it.
100%. No, listen, and I hear you, and I do like that terminology, cheat code, because I think it really can be. I think, if you're the one person in your office or in your field that's not relying on substances to numb them to their problems, then guess what? You're going to be the one person that's actually confronting those problems, and you're probably going to grow at an exponential rate compared to everybody else. I personally am coming up on 5 years without a drink. And, similar to you, I don't really think I was an alcoholic. It wasn't like I drank every night. There was just a voice in the back of my head that was kind of whispering to me like, Brett, I think you could be better. I think you could just be better and be more influential and do more good work without alcohol in your life. And, I didn't really have a come to Jesus moment, or I didn't go to AA. I just said, you know what? I'm going to take 3 months off and just see what it's like. I'm just going to see what it's like, And I read a book called The Naked Mind, which I found to be phenomenal. If you are sober curious, I'd recommend the audio version of that. It's really, really good. And I just took 3 months off.
The audience, the author's name is Annie Grace. So that's the book I read too. And
Nice.
it was good. I got to tell you too, I forgot, you asked me a question, was how long. I just passed 5 years too. So they say that if you make it 5 years, you're, what is it, 92% chance that you're gonna stick with it. But I'm proud of you. That's a funny story because it's the exact same story as me. I only committed to 90 days off. I liked
No
it. Took
way.
another 90 days. It's the same exact story. But
Dude, that's
how old
wild.
are you? How old are
That's
you?
wild. I'm 38.
Oh, so you did it 10 years earlier than me. I did it at 43. You did it at 33. So,
Dude, that's wild though.
congratulations to you. Everybody says in this space, "Oh, I don't have any regrets. Everything happened the way it's supposed to." I do have a regret. At 30, I knew I had to quit. I knew it was a problem. That voice in my head, and every
Sure.
time I would pass a mirror, I would see a blotchy skin, and it'd say, "I got to get better alignment with this." So from 30 to 43, I want half of those years back. So congratulations to you. You got more than half of them back, and you're going to do some big things in this world. And
Kelly,
two
I
beautiful children are to come from you, and perhaps more. And you'll see that you won't have three-quarters of the problems that someone who alcohol is big in their life, or even prevalent in their life. And I'm not saying people realize this isn't you got to get rip roaring drunk every single weekend to have a problem. If
right.
it holds you back in any way, why do it? If you drink once a week and you're just a little bit of a little bit less than yourself the next day, why do it?
It's totally true. And I think all you got to do is take a few months off. And what you'll find is you'll probably go to a wedding or two in those 3 months. Maybe you'll go on a bachelor party. You'll go bowling with the boys. And what you'll find is you're having just as much fun, if not more fun, without the alcohol. And it was never the booze that was actually the fun. It was the people, it was the connection, it was the music, it was the atmosphere. And if you just put yourself in a few of those so-called drinking situations and you get through them without drinking, I think on the other side, you realize that alcohol does not serve us in any way.
You take it one step further. I learned this yesterday because I interviewed three sobriety coach or alcohol reduction coaches, and they all said this to me. They said, take this sober test. If your sole purpose is to meet friends to go drink, go do that event sober and see if it's still fun, and then realize maybe this isn't what I want to be doing. I found that profound because
Totally.
so much of my time and energy, and I would write it off as, oh, I'm doing business. We're doing network, which I did. I did
Right.
business. I drank with all my customers and they drank with me. And it was very fruitful until I decided that it's just the benefit wasn't worth the cost. And I got to tell you, if you're thinking that you're missing out, man, if you get on the other side of this where you absolutely don't think about drinking, everything becomes more fun. All the way through to sex. I'm like, oh, how is it going to be having sober sex? Amazing, mind blowing.
It is good.
You're not drunk and you're not everything works properly. You go to traditional parties, you get to freaking remember what they said. You're not talking about things, you're actually talking about you're not talking about people, you're talking about big ideas, and you help each other. And then the next day you can remember to call them back and say, hey, we're just gonna have lunch. And it's just, there's just, I can't think of one positive thing. And Kelly, it helps me become social. Really? It does? What kind of a world do you have to drink to talk to people that you love or like, or that should like you? And are they going to see who you really are? I'm 1,000 times more social, sober than I was drinking because I was thinking, where am I going to get my next drink? Where's the bar? Or somebody's slurring their words and I'm sitting in this dumb conversation talking about nothing. No, thanks. No, thanks.
Yeah, and listen, and I think it's a powerful conversation, and kind of like you said earlier, I think there are certain people that have a very healthy relationship with alcohol. They can have a glass of wine every now and then with their victory cigar. They just closed a big deal. And I think those people, I don't think it's hurting them at all, but I think there's certainly probably a bigger portion of people who are maybe drinking a little more than they know they should. And there's just that voice in the back of their head that is just curious as to what they could do, what they could be without it. And if you're one of those people, I just urge you to take 90 days off. See what it's like. Maybe at the end of the 90 days, you decide it's not for you. I'll guess at the end of the 90 days, you may never look back.
Well, not a single person ever got sober and said, I wish I hadn't done that.
It's true.
It's like going to the gym.
That's so true.
You know what?
That is so
I
true.
hate to. I don't want to. So let's switch the channels because there's so much more to what we can talk about with perseverance. But that's just one.
Yeah, that's just one of them, but it's a big one, and I think it's something that if people could square away, they could conquer a lot of their other problems, in possibly an easier fashion. And you have, I've watched a lot of your content, and I think it's a very motivating, inspiring. I think too, it's very entertaining, and one thing that you'll talk about sometimes is, of course, when you've got a huge following like yourself, and you're getting a lot of comments on your posts, sometimes, and a lot of times, those comments are not too positive, right? They're people that are not in the fight. They're not in the arena. They're watching from the stands, and they're throwing dirt. But you have talked about how you kind of use those comments as fuel, which kind of reminds me of like a Michael Jordan type mindset, right? He was fueled kind of more so by that chip on his shoulder than anything else. And I just kind of was curious if you could just go into that a little bit more and just kind of talk about how you use negativity from other people as fuel for yourself.
You used all of Brene Brown's terms. Did you read her books?
Of course, I love Brene.
Yeah, she's my dream podcast guest. Just so if she's listening to this or anybody knows her, man, we're top 30 on self-improvement on the Apple Podcasts, and we're going to aim for that number one spot. Renee, if you're listening, two guys here that love to talk to you.
I guarantee you'll have her on, Kelly. I have no doubt. Within 3 years, Brene Brown will be on the show. No doubt about it.
The funniest thing about that is she's very liberal, and that's a testament of me wanting to get closer, because you can learn from everybody, especially people that aren't exactly like you. She's just so kind and stuff. I read every one of her books. Atlas of the Heart had me in tears. I was in Florida in my pool reading it and just burst out in tears. So, what was the question again?
No worries. I'm talking about how you kind of use some negativity that you receive, and how you kind of use it as fuel to take more action, to grow more than maybe you would have without that fuel.
I drink my own Kool-Aid, man. It's none of my business what people think about me. And I like to get involved and talk to those people because I've changed. I've converted a few of them. Where when I get the real nasty comments, I'll respond to them and I'll send them a DM and say, "Is everything okay with you?" Because that's not a typical healed person response. And they're expecting to get a fight. And when I don't fight them and I hit it with love and compassion, they go, I'm having a rough go at it. And that's usually, these people are just trying to survive. And they don't have the skills and tools and background that I've had to go through to get to where I am. So how can you help one person if you're going to get into a fight with them? Now, there's certain people where, if they come right back with you take steroids, it's like, dude, first of all, I put a post up this morning. If something irritates you to your core, there's a good chance it's true. So you can tease me all about taking steroids all you want. I make no bones about it. I take testosterone. I'm 48 years old. But the one thing you can't take away from me is the 30 years I've spent in the gym. 30 years, and I've looked just like this. Now, I will tell you, when I quit drinking, I got a little bit bigger, a little bit more defined because I didn't have the sugars. And that's people like, oh my God, you take steroids. It doesn't even, if it's not the truth, I don't feel like I have to defend myself. Eventually, I will post my blood work because I do stack the deck in my favor. I have a doctor who is a friend of mine who monitors all of my sleeping habits, my blood, my heart. We have a history of heart disease in the family. So I plan on living into the 100, 120. So I have everything checked every 6 months. So I'm going to have him come on and say, this is the protocol. You can break patient-client confidentiality, and you can say everything that I do, and I go on, and it's an infomercial for him. So you can't take away the hour and a half a day I do 7 days a week. And most people don't want to do that. So what we don't understand, we criticize, And it doesn't bother me. It is fuel, but it's also fueled really from a positive perspective. And
Sure.
again, I don't know if I said it, but it's none of my business what people think about me. I'm
No,
happy.
100%. And I think
And I
that's the
invite you to
right,
come be happy with me. If you
right.
listen to the podcast, you adopt the principles I tell you, you will be happy. And I can tell you what never in the history of mankind has throwing stones in a glass house made anybody happy.
It's
Not even
100%
for a
true.
minute.
No. I mean, I think, we rise by lifting others is such a powerful quote. And there may have never been anything said that was more true than that. If we really just focus on lifting other people with our words, then we'll see it kind of reflect right back on us. And we're just going to feel better about our own life. We're going to see better things happen in our life if we try and lift those
Furthermore,
around us.
it's their own limiting beliefs.
For
It
sure.
is not easy. It is harder than life to go to the gym 7 days a week, to meditate 7 days a week, to journal 7 days a week, to freaking get there. There's days that I don't want to do it either, but those are the days that I make sure that I do it. And just because you don't have the intestinal fortitude to do it. And here's the funny thing about it: I'm not judging you. I'm more empathetic to you than I am to myself. If I
Sure.
don't go to the gym one day, the stories I'm going to say in my head, I'll call myself every name known under the man. So that's probably not healthy either. But I just said, you said take 90 days off. I say go to the gym for 90 days while you're doing it too. It is addicting. And
I'll
then
be honest with you.
when I say you look good, you feel good, you do good.
I agree completely. I think, physical fitness is a huge pillar for, having success in any area of life. I know I've taken my fitness a lot more seriously over the past 12 months, and I'm just seeing myself take action on projects that I just wasn't taking action on before. If you're getting your cardio and you're getting your strength and you're eating correctly, you're going to have that energy. You're going to have that vibration to go out there and actually take action on projects that maybe scare you a little bit.
Well,
And
you're
it's kind of, go ahead.
sorry, you've proven that you're consistent and you can take your word for it. So, like, you're a realtor in the real estate business. Half the realtors don't follow up, don't do what they say they're going to do, won't respond to a text message, won't respond to an email. If you walk in and you're ripped, they know that you're disciplined, that you have the wherewithal to do what you say you're going to do. They're more likely to freaking choose you. When I walk into a room, I'm in the IT business. I don't look like an IT guy.
Definitely not.
People want it. People know I mean business. What'd you say?
I said definitely not. I wouldn't look at you on the street and think, "Oh, wow, that guy. I wonder if he can fix my, my IT situation with my small
Yeah. So,
business."
you get immediate credibility
Yeah,
in the business world when you walk in and you're disciplined and in shape.
I love it. I totally agree. Yeah, if I would say, if I saw you and didn't know who you were, I'd probably think you were more likely to be walking down the ramp at WrestleMania than fixing my IT problem.
So, funny story is during the pandemic, I let my hair grow all long and my beard go long. So then I kept it for a little while when things opened up. So when I'd travel, people would stop me because they thought I was a professional wrestler. And it was funny because I looked like the Heartbreak Kid.
You really do, man.
Shawn
Well,
Michaels.
listen. Listen. If the IT thing doesn't work out and the Harder Than Life app flops, I think you've definitely got potential as a WWE superstar.
Well, I like the microphone. I like the camera. So, my best thing is I'm launching this coaching program, and I love telling people and helping people, telling people how I do it and helping people. That's why I go on these podcasts. So the coaching program is going to blow up, and we're going to have a blast with it. And then we're going to write another book and then go back out and do some major keynotes. And like I said, I'm coming for Ed Milet.
You're
I
coming
love
for
Ed.
Ed. Ed
Yeah.
Milet, shaking in his boots. Tony Robbins, they're all looking over their shoulder. Kelly Siegel's coming. Dude, thank you for being with us today, man. This was a fire chat. I really enjoyed getting to know you and your story, and I'm sure our listeners are going to get a lot out of this. Where can people keep up with all you're up to these days?
Harderthanlife.com is one, but the best one is we monitor Instagram a lot. So it's kelly.siegel.71. Now, shoot me a DM, and this coaching program is going to be out in a month. We're going to have a blast with that. Going to have some fun. We do some testimonials, show people how they got better and how they got happier. But I want to say one back thing to you is just, enjoy. You've already been with Kim when she was pregnant with Becca, but enjoy this second one because they say the second one isn't twice as hard, it's 10 times as hard. So you're going to have some fun. If there's ever anything that I personally can do for you, you're doing great things. I feel your great energy. And obviously you got a sober brother in me. If there's ever an issue with wanting a drink or anything like that, man, just shoot me a text. I'm always there for everybody, especially the good ones. And you're a good one.
Kelly, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much
Thanks,
for being
man.
with us, guys. This has been Persistence Playbook. Until next week, see you out there.